Hi, my name is Dr. Deborah Henderson. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Justice and Social Inquiry in the School of Social Transformation. I've been asked to say a few words about using the announcements link in the course landing page to post what I call my general comments on the online class discussions. I started teaching online classes a few years ago, and I have to say that I was quite skeptical about missing that teacher-student face-to-face interactivity in the online format. And part of the problem for me is that the interaction in the classroom is what I really love about teaching, that ability to adapt and allow students to articulate ideas which I can then expand and clarify. And this is what I think makes classroom teaching interesting and compelling. Online courses talk a good game about interaction, but the frozen format and huge enrollments leave little room for some real instructor interaction, no matter what we think that the discussion boards are going to do. Students don't read other students' posts, except for maybe the few just before theirs, when they sit down to think about the course for 5 minutes. And way too often they write without doing any kind of preliminary work on the course. Too often there's very little learning going on and basically no discussion. And what we get instead is a lot of last-minute, uninformed, opinionated rambling. And that really doesn't do anything to address the issue of interaction. And having TAs read discussion posts and grade them really doesn't help me or my enjoyment of teaching, except for the obvious. And it doesn't really do anything to help encourage student engagement in the course. But when I can sit down and read through student discussion posts each week for content, I can begin to get a good idea about what students are thinking, what they're focusing on, what they're missing, when they engage in the course content. Instead of spending my time evaluating the posts on the basis of some systemized criteria, I find that I can engage with the students' ideas on a more personal level. And taking all the weekly posts in at once, I can copy individual posts that I think are really insightful and incorporate them into my general comments. And that gives the students not only a model for good post content, but also a sense that the instructor is reading what they write and guiding their experience from inside the course. And this method also lets me focus my thinking and say things more articulately than I would have in a face-to-face class. And that's something I hadn't considered before. In writing, I have time to sit down and edit and shape my comments. I can save them in a separate text, and I can use them from semester to semester, including the key ideas that I've come to see as significant, and interact then with the real personality of the current class. I can add stuff that I find necessary, and I can eliminate stuff. I can adjust it based on what they're saying in this course. I can also use my comment section as a place to praise students on their efforts or remind them to read before they post or be respectful of others, that kind of thing. I can also make quick reminders at the end of my comments about upcoming exams or upcoming assignments, deadlines. This is also a place where I can give a few comments about the class's performance on last week's quiz or assignments, how they did, etc. I try to keep the tone of my comments conversational. I imagine myself talking to the class as I'm composing my comments. I take the time in the comments to explain and clarify points, and I can insert live links to websites or videos that might help illustrate my points as I write. In my classes, the discussion boards close each week on a designated day, and I try to read and compose my comments and get them posted as soon as possible so that I can give students feedback early enough to be useful before they start to post for their discussion for the following week. And I think this is a good way for me to connect with the students each week and to make last week's ideas relevant for the current week. And I usually try to keep the announcements open for about a week and a half or so on the landing page before they're deleted. But I copy all of my comments and then I paste them into a separate section that I've created, a separate link called My Comments on the Discussion Boards on the left side on the landing page under Course Home. And that way I'm not cluttering up the announcements, and students can always refer back to to that link and access all of my comments anytime throughout the semester, especially when they begin to study for the exams. They can always go back and find everything that I've written, and it doesn't clutter up the announcements. I do include brief video clips that I create on the webcam that I use to introduce all my weekly sections, but they're not really interactive in the same sense as the comments. In the videos, I try to set the stage for what's coming that next week, including upcoming deadlines. But it's in my general comments that I really offer feedback and analysis on the work that the students have completed the week before, and I try to put what they've done into a larger context. I wanted to mention one more technique I began using in conjunction with my comments posted in the announcement link, and that's the use of blogs. In this past semester, I began using an externally created blog instead of the discussion board for my class in Justice and Popular Culture. And the blog was a way for me to reformat the discussion in a much more, what I thought was a visually appealing style. The use of the internet allowed the students to link the blog to their Facebook accounts. We could see their faces and their pictures. I created the blog and linked it to the course in each weekly unit and had the students post their responses to the related topic that I would establish. I was able to change the blog's appearance and add relevant videos and things like that to coincide with each of the 7 weekly units. I found that the use of the blogs, students became way more interested in the discussions, and they brought so much more of themselves to their blog posts than I ever saw in the little bit of the awkward and more formal format of the discussion boards. I responded to the weekly blog posts with my comments posted in the course assignments, just like I did with the discussion board, so that was all the same. But the best thing about the blog for me was that I was able to log on every day and read the new posts, the things that they were posting every day, and then I could jump into the conversation. I could sometimes shift the conversation, the discussion, in a direction that I wanted it to head. I could connect my individual icon to my posts so that students could then locate everything that I said, all my new comments, instead of having to root through a sea of discussion boards. I could respond to specific students, and many times they would respond back. It was just like a real discussion. And that's something that I never really experienced with the discussion board format. At the end of the week, I composed all my general comments and included excerpts from the blogs, just the same way, and video clips, the same way that I did with when I was doing the discussion board. So it all went into the announcements, just like I explained. The point is that there's no way to know if the students ever really read the announcements, because the program as it functions now, you can't really tell. But it makes me feel like I'm teaching a class of students instead of developing and administering a course content, to some impersonal ether. I felt personally involved in the course, and I got to know the students through their discussion blogs and posts, and I was able to let them know me a bit more personally through the comments that I posted. Now, some students don't read the announcements for various reasons, and of course some students don't read anything in college, but I found that a lot of students really looked forward to my feedback, my comments each week, and that made me feel good. And whereas I was really initially skeptical about the utility of the online format, my use of the announcement function really made the course more personal and more interactive, really, than I ever thought it was possible to do. And my passion and my personality became part of the pedagogical relationship. And that's made the course and its content really much more interesting and more compelling for me and for the students, I think. So thanks for the opportunity to share this best practice, I guess, with you. And I hope some of you will find it helpful in teaching your own online classes. Thanks.